Okay. Our next speaker is Billy Jo Huddleston, and she's going to talk to us about solar panel use and end-of-life management from a utilities perspective. And she's from Nextera Energy, the division of Florida Power and Light.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay? Okay, well, thank you guys for inviting me to speak. Like you said, my name is BJ Huddleston. I work for Florida Power and Light, who is a, so Nextera Energy, just to kind of, Nextera Energy is the mother company, and then Florida Power Light is under Nextera Energy, but I'm going to talk about FPL. So, so again, my name is BJ Huddleston. I work for environmental services in Florida Power and Light. I'm a manager of the waste programs. So I've been in that role about 2 years. Prior to that, I've got 24 years industry experience. I've been working in power plants my entire career. So now I'm at corporate. So it's been a nice transition to get out of daily operational compliance to kind of get see things from the strategy perspective. So do I just press this? The green button, okay. So just a high level Florida Power and Light. Florida Power and Light is the largest producer of solar power in Florida and the nation's largest owner and operator of solar. So currently, and this is based on numbers from March, there's 4,700 megawatts of solar in Florida that equates to about 63 solar energy centers throughout the state that provides power to almost 1 million homes. Last year, Nextera Energy, who, like I said, is our parent company, announced that we have a real zero goal to eliminate carbon emissions from our power plant fleet no later than 2045. So what that's going to look like over the next 20 years is that we're going to install 90,000 megawatts. So that's about 20 times what we have out there currently in order to get to this real zero goal. And we're going to do this with zero incremental costs to the customer, by phasing it in over the next 20 years. So FPL has a strong history of commitment to environmental excellence and stewardship. Our customers, like everybody, they expect reliable energy, cost-effective energy. They also want clean energy. Our environmental services team is about 150 strong. We've got dedicated teams for the wind, air, waste management, wildlife habitat. So talking about our overall waste management strategy, obviously, as with anybody that deals with waste, want to do waste minimization through the 3 cores, reduce the amount of waste, reuse where you can, and recycle. We're continuously seeking opportunities to identify and implement reuse and recycling programs. In 2021, our corporate recycling services team won a recycling award from the Florida Recycling Partnership Foundation. So we have a facility that's been in service for about 30 years. And basically, it's a centralized location. All the power delivery send their waste to this facility. All the generating facilities send their waste there. We've got a cable recycling there. We've got cardboard recycling. I mean, we recycle millions of pounds of material at this facility, and it's been there for over 30 years. So this is not something that's new to FPL. I mean, we've been dealing with waste minimization and recycling, reducing waste for decades at this point. So I say all that not to be a commercial for FPL. I say that because I just kind of want to say that that is our culture. So when we start talking about all these solar panels and what are we going to do with solar panels, it's very easy when you already have a strong culture and already have a strong program in place to just say, hey, we've got this emergent waste, let's go ahead and implement it, figure out how you're going to manage it and being in, concert with the procedure and processes and culture you already have in place. So obviously we're going to comply with all laws. That's a given. Every industry is going to do that. But we work at all levels to encourage and promote solar panel recycling. The last thing that we want to do is send a solar panel to a landfill. That's the last thing that we want to do. We really encourage, we've got a team that works with local colleges where we donate panels that may have been broken during installation, but they're still useful for training purposes. If you send them to a technical college so people can be trained on how to do repairs and stuff to solar panels. So, I mean, at all levels, like I said, not just at my level, even at the plants, I mean, we're encouraging recycling. We partner with solar panel recycling vendors. So kind of just to tag team on with what the former speaker said, yeah, so there's a lot of recyclers out there. You've got to be careful with who you partner with so that you don't have this sham recycling. So we have, I think, a pretty robust due diligence program where we really do vet our recycling partners. Besides the questionnaire and desktop reviews, we do site visits of their facilities, because at the end of the day, and you can talk to a lot of people who work for me or work with me, one of my favorite sayings is where it goes matters, right? RCRA, cradle to grave liability. And it's my responsibility to protect FPL from that type of liability. So I have to know where these panels were going. If a recycler comes to me, and this is just one example of just some of the due diligence that we do. So we were vetting out a company that told us that they had 4 recycling facilities nationwide. 2 of them were in California. One of my team members was in California for a training class. And I said, well, you know, since you're in California, see if you can go visit one of these facilities and just stay in California an extra day. And so now that all of a sudden the recycler's like, oh, well, they're backtracking, right? It's like, yeah, the 2 facilities in California don't really manage the panels. Only the facility in Indiana does that. And the facilities in California were transfer stations, which is fine. You know, not saying that a company can't have multiple transfer stations taking everything to a localized location. But at the end of the day, I need to know where my panels are going. Don't tell me they're going to California when they're going to Indiana. So those are the kinds of like vetting things that we go through to make sure that we're partnering with responsible vendors. So we have the same challenges. I mean, a lot of the challenges, I don't want to be really repetitive of what Jeff said. Is that his name, Jeff? Sorry. Okay. But I don't want to repeat any of the things that he was saying about how you designate them as whether they're going to be recycled or waste, and the difficulties in having to sample every single panel if you don't want to send them off as hazardous waste. At the end of the day, if we're going to not recycle them, we're just assuming that they're hazardous and just sending them off as hazardous waste, because it's doing this sampling is more expensive than just going ahead and just disposing of them. If you kind of look at, and this is, I think this is in several documents. If you kind of compare how much it costs to recycle a panel versus disposal of a panel, you can send a panel to non-hazardous landfill for $1 a panel. And this is just, kind of a benchmark. I'm not saying that that's the real number. It's just really more for comparison's sake. If you send it off to a hazardous waste landfill, it's like $5 a panel. If you send it off for recycling, it's $15 to $25 a panel. So recycling is much more expensive than it is to dispose of them. But like I said, at FPL, we really have this, commitment to not send them to landfills unless there's absolutely no other choice. So when we talk about preparing for storms, if you wait until a storm is coming to have a plan in place, that's too late. You have to have these strong processes in place up front. You have to know what's at your site. For Ian, we put our recyclers on standby the week before the storm actually hit us. So that way they kind of knew, hey, we're going to be getting a call a couple of days after the storm to start coming to these sites. And then just be ready to evaluate sites as soon as conditions allow. One of the, I guess, complications, I don't want to say complications when if you're not going to recycle your panels in an instance like this, if you're going to dispose of them and you're going to assume that they're hazardous waste, remember that now you've got hundreds, possibly thousands of panels. You're now a large quantity generator of waste. You have to have those panels offsite within 90 days if you adhere to the RCRA requirements. So it makes it very, very tricky if you're not going to recycle them and you're going to actually dispose of them. So yeah, I think I was even shorter than you, but like I said, I didn't want to be repetitive of a lot of the stuff that he said, because it's what we deal with every day, the designating them as waste, making sure you have responsible recyclers, and just having your plan in place ahead of time. So that way you're not scrambling after the fact. Really, preparation is the best way to kind of do that. And so now I will answer questions.
Okay.
Are you able to share where you guys recycle your solar panels?
So I can give some of the ones that we have are the ones that you see on the EPA's website. You know, we've got, you know, Clean Lights, We Recycle Solar, FabTech. We've actually got 8 approved vendors right now, and there's 2 more that are kind of in the queue to be, the paperwork has been done. It's really just a matter of us scheduling some site visits, so. So the one that we sent Ian's panels to, their headquarters is actually in Arizona, but those panels actually went to Savannah. And We Recycle Solar has a facility in Orlando, but I've not had a chance to visit that facility. So I don't know if that facility is just a transfer station or if it's actual processing facility.
I believe that one is actually a transfer station. Yeah. I actually got a video that was sent to me yesterday by Ricardo, who was on our earlier session, which I can share. Maybe we can watch that later on, but it's a short minute video, about 4-minute video about We Recycle, and it shows you their process. So it might have an interest in looking at that. I got a quick question. If you didn't address it in your comments while I was out, and I apologize if you did. Hurricane Ian. All right. So Jeff, you mentioned Ian and the EV issue that came up with batteries, solar panels. What kind of damage did FPL run through with that storm, or what was their damage?
So surprisingly, the damage was not as bad as we initially thought. So within the first couple of days after the hurricane, we started getting numbers of 25,000 panels damaged at a couple of sites. Once you finally got people on site, because the numbers that they're looking at, you know, obviously we have a control room that shows everything. And so it was just a lot of lack of signal that made people assume that the panels were damaged. And then, you know, you send drones over there and the area's 10 feet in water and you just can't really tell. So, but when you actually went out there, put someone in the field, it was less than 10% of that number. So it was less than 2,000 that actually had to be sent off for recycling. And we did recycle them.
Do you have partners out there, other companies that help you with repairs of solar panels?
Oh yeah, we've got contractors on, you know, that, yeah.
And then,
I mean, this is going to be part of the, you know, the business, you know, when you have maintenance contractors and stuff. So yeah.
One other quick question, solar panel array out in a field someplace, is FP&L experimenting with the use of that field in some other way than just for generating solar powered energy, running cattle or whatever? I've heard that's something that they're doing in Europe. That's why I asked the question.
I've heard of agrivoltaics, and I'm not sure. I'm not in the research and development group. I can't really say one way or the other whether they're looking at that or not.
There's, sorry, one question online. Are there solar panels that are not recycled and are landfilled going to MSW, CND, or HW landfills? I don't know what any of that means. I'm just reading it.
Well, there are, obviously, they all can't be recycled. All I can say is I know FPL really strives to recycle all their panels. Yeah. Here.
So as I mentioned before, household hazardous waste is one of the exemptions within RCRA. So like a homeowner who may have a, 1 or 2 panels, depending on, and this comes down to a lot of legal stuff that I'm not fully aware of. So please take this with a grain of salt. But depending on how the panels were installed, what the agreement is with the installing, the support company, it could be the homeowner disposing of it, which makes it a household hazardous waste technically, or it could be part of a warranty where the company comes in and replaces panels. That becomes industry. So like FPL, they would be responsible to track that waste, determine if it's waste, recycle it, so it wouldn't be considered waste. So yeah, there's a potential for those to get into the landfill based on where that quote waste is coming from. Hopefully that answers that question. Yeah, and again, if you T-clip them and determine that they're not hazardous, then yeah, they're a solid waste that can then go into a landfill. They don't have to be recycled if they're not considered a waste or has waste.
And that is one of the biggest challenges we're facing right now, is the fact that right now, there may be a couple hundred to a couple thousand panels per year that need to be either recycled or disposed of. 10, 15 years from now, obviously those numbers are going to skyrocket, because you're going to start seeing some of these older facilities, panels are at the end of life. And then you saw the numbers that FPL is getting ready to install tens to hundreds of millions of panels over the next 20 years. So the market's not there right now, but in about 10, 15 years, you know, there's going to have to be a lot more robust investment into recycling, finding a market for these recyclable materials that come off the solar panel. So that way we can contribute to that circular environment. So yeah.
I just had a question. When you get these expansion projects, are they going to be based in Florida, or are they based all over America when you have these?
So those numbers were specifically FPL's goals. Yep. Yep.
Sir?
Are you familiar that China have machines to recycle the EV batteries and the solar panels?
So I have seen, I know the video, I guess you're getting ready to show from Recycle Solar has those shredding machines, and because it's done by weight, you know, the plastic falls off before the glass does. And so they're able to segregate the plastic from the glass using these shredding machines. So yeah. But it's still a very manual process to even get it to where it's shreddable, because you got to remove the frame, you got to get that aluminum piece from around the edges, to separate the glass from everything. So even with the shredding machines that they use, there's still a very manual preparation process.
Okay. Any other questions for Billy Joe? If not, let's give her a big hand for